Hey, it's beauty time again. Yeah, I got my little Charlotte Tilbury box full of what I just put on my face. Yeah, these boxes are great. They got a little magnetic closure, and then I've got lots of room to put goodies in there. And today we're going to start our September makeup looks. And I decided to use the Berries and Cream Dreams by Violet Voss. So I got this pink palette out and I thought, okay, I'm going to start working with this. And if you're not familiar with this is a collage of beauty looks. I will be starting in September for this month, and I will record beauty looks that I've created using different palettes throughout the month of September. And toward the end of September, I'll upload a makeup look and tell you all that I've done and any tips that I might have. So, if you like that kind of content, then stick around. And today, like I said, we're doing this with the Violet Voss palette that I got from my Ipsy. I think for $6 it was on sale, normally like $34, $35. And I started off with this with the base over here. I always start with a base, which is opposite of what I'm looking at, which is right here. And then I put on this color over that. I went over here to the brown and I put that in my crease there. And then I went over it with this on top, and I put this in the corners. Now, when I say the corners, I did like half to the outer edge corner. But on the very tip of the corner, I used this really dark Glamberry on the very tip. And unfortunately, it wasn't light enough for me as far as the pinks. So, but it went on good. Okay, it gave me a pink look, as you can see, but I wanted a little bit more shine of the pink. So I went and got my Estee Lauder. This is my Pink Mink eyeshadow palette that I have had it for a long time. And I used this light pink and this pink on top. I just put it on top of her color so that I could have a little bit lighter, brighter look. And that's what I did. Now, should I have done that? I don't know. But the other two colors that this one had for being light didn't really seem pink to me. They seemed more orangey cream color, and I wanted it pinky color. So that's what I did. And, I've got this little applicator from Estee Lauder, and I can still add, a little pink to that if I wanted it to be even more pink, as far as a brighter pink. And that's what I was looking for. But that's what I did to get my pink look. Now with that, on my eyes, I used the PrimeLash mascara in Mulberry because I was going with a pink look. I thought this would be a great one to use, and it's become one of my favorite mascaras. It's hard to believe that that's Mulberry on there. Look at this color. It almost looks brown. Is it even coming out of here? Have I used it so much I gotta buy another one? Maybe. I really have used it a lot. I'm always putting this on, and you can lift. This has nutrition in it, so it's great for your lashes. My favorite. I do have a link down in my description for it if you're interested, and I just stand by it because it works. But anyways, I also used the BBB Brow, which is the Universal Brow Pencil on my brow. It's my favorite one. I brought it in here today. I used my favorite cream color in my waterline and on the outer edges to the insides on both eyes, like here and out. That helps open up my eyes. I have small eyes. And then I used this new liner that I got from my BoxyCharm. It was really the Icon box. Cool Free? Maybe it's Coolfy. Anyway, I used this, and I've got this halfway over on both sides, and then I got a Q-tip to bring it on a little with the cream, and then I've got this, which I don't even know if you can tell, but it's the eyeliner that's off to the side and then a little bit tipped out on each end, and that just helps pull my eyes up. Now sometimes I do a real like sharp corner edge and then paint in there, so to speak, with my shadow brush. But here lately I haven't been doing that. But it is another way that if you want to get a real strong cat eye that you could. Now my blush, I went with my Fenty new one that's called Bubble Bands. And this is really pink and I really like it. And, you know, I'm just going to swatch it for you real quick here just so you can see how pink it is. It really is. And you can probably even tell that on my cheeks here. But it's a beautiful color, and I've been loving the Fenty blushes. The formula is really great. And then for my lips, I use my Natasha Denona. Now, I had to sharpen it already. I guess I've used it so much since I got it, but it just glides on, and it's very nice. I like it. And I got my color, I think something about rose. I need a rose lip crayon, and I guess that's the color. I'm not sure. She did have some names like Daphne or something like that, so I might have got a Daphne in this. This here's a rose color like lip gloss, and then I got the lipstick, and the lipstick is in Daphne. That's why I'm thinking this is Daphne. So this is what the lipstick looks like. It's very smooth. I'm glad I got this color. It's neutral, but it's very nice. And then it goes real well with putting on this gloss. So see, it gives it kind of a pinky look there. So I've kind of got another pink look, just a little bit different, using the Violet Voss and my Estee Lauder. And then the last thing I did was I sprayed my face with my airbrush with Charlotte Tilbury, and she's got a new one out. Look how I'm almost empty. I'm probably going to buy the new one. It's for a matte set. But you just spray this on. I guess since I'm getting so low, I'm not going to spray any on right now. But I put that on. Then I put my Mario highlighter on. I'm really liking this highlighter. You put it on, and I don't have my little fan brush in here, but you put it on after you spray that, and it's supposed to set it better. But that's my look today. So you let me know. I'm using up some of these new products, adding in a few old ones. I have every one of these Estee Lauder palettes that came out whatever year that was. And guys, it has to be several years. So these palettes don't like wear out or nothing. They work fine. I don't toss them in the trash. If I'm supposed to, well, I'm not going to, because they're still working. So anyways, that's my look. Now we are in September. So we're going to be using different emojis for my gifting that I do. For the weekly gifting, you would need to put emoji in a sentence, in a comment down below if you want to enter. Be publicly subscribed to me, and you must be 18 years or older and an address in the U.S. But if you do that, the emojis that we're using for September are a rose and a blue heart. Now, if for some reason you don't have a rose or a blue heart, then I guess you could write a sentence with rose, R-O-S-E, or say blue heart. But the emojis, which I think everybody has colored emojis, we're going to go with blue in September because that's Sapphire. My daughter's birthday's in September, and we have lots of September birthdays in my family. So that's what we're going with for September. That's all I have for this look. Thanks for being with me. And now, on to the next. This is a Catkin look because I had told you guys that I would show you a look from Catkin. They had graciously sent over to me a beautifully packed foundation. This is their foundation palette. And this is a Pandora Land Coverage Cushion BB Cream. And that's all I have on my face today as far as my foundation is this BB Cream. And it gave great coverage. I want to show you this beautiful foundation. Look at that. It looks really dark, But when I put it on, I want to show you now. I've put it on, and I'm just going to go down my nose so you can kind of see it there. And I've already got it on, but I want you to know that this is the color that I have on. Now, I may have too much on my nose now, but that is the color, and it is all over. And as you can see, it actually matched my skin pretty good. I was afraid that it was going to be too light, but it wasn't, and so it has worked out really well. And it looks dark, but it doesn't go on as dark as it looks. I'll put some on my finger, as you can see here. And there you go. See, it just matches in with my skin. So it did a really good job. On the inside, your little pad to put your makeup on also has the panda. So you have the panda on the inside with your pad to put on your BB cream, and you also have it on here. Isn't that just cute packaging? Well, after I've got that on, I did use the Catkin loose powder, and I used all three colors. I just mixed it, and I just dusted my whole face with it. And I'm gonna see if I can get just a little bit of the blue and white out, and I'll just powder my nose since I oh, it has a powder puff. I'll just use the powder puff, and I'll powder puff my nose with the powder. It worked really good. I liked it. It had good coverage. So I used the Catkin C4 is what I used, and that foundation was C4 as well. And this is in matte, and it was the Catkin loose powder. And this here, just a double check, I want to make sure if it says on there, it was C04 Buff. So that was the color that I used, in case you wanted to know. Now, the next thing that I went to with Catkin was the eyeshadow palette. Isn't that beautiful? It's the Catkin. It is the Forest C15. And as you can see, they kind of have great packaging with that too, showing the forest with the deer. And on the inside, we have a neutral palette, which I have just about every color on, including this color over here. Now that color that's pebbled is a shimmer, and it comes off a little brownish green. And I don't know that you can see it. Let me see if I can rub my finger a little harder there. But as you can tell, it's just a faint shimmer. But I did use the light as a base all over here on top. I use this on top of that, so I have this underneath my eyebrow, and then all over my lid I have this. Then I went over it with the shiny. Then I went on with this, so I have a base of that on my lid. Then on my lid, I put this in the corners, I put this in the middle, and I have the dark brown in my crease. So I used most of the colors, and this is the look that I got, which is a real natural look. And I do have my blender brush with me, and I'll just add a little bit more of that brown so you can see that it's got good coverage. And it added just a little bit more depth to that since I added it in there. But that was the palette. Now, I did use a different blush because they didn't send me a blush. I used my Fenty blush, and it's in that pink. And it turned out real pretty. I really like this. This is called Bubble Bands, and it's a beautiful pink, and it goes well with that. Then I used my Patrick Ta. I have a bronzer palette by Patrick Ta. Guys, I've had this for quite some time and never used it. I used the cream base all over, like under here, under my chin and up here. Then I went over it with the powder. That was the instructions on how to use it. So I used the Patrick Ta, and you can tell it didn't come off as dark as it looks in the packaging. So that was what I used for my contouring. And then what I used for my mascara is two things. I use the Cosnori eyelashes, and this here was a conditioner that I put on before my mascara, and then I use the Cosnori black mascara, and it's got like a little bit of curve to the brush, and it's a real light finish on your eyelashes. It's not going to make them like really thick. It does make it a little longer, I think. But that is the eyelashes, and you can tell my eyelashes are still growing even when I'm using a different mascara. I forgot to tell you my eyeliners, so I'm dropping this in. I did use the Revant, and I'll have my links for Revant down in my description as well. This is a purple eyeliner. It's beautiful, and I added that on for color with my neutral eyes with Catkin, and then I used my Lancome white, which I have in the waterline and just a little bit over on the insides of my eyes, and that just brightens them up a little bit. So I wanted to toss that in there so you know my true and full look. So that was my eyes. I did use a new brow pencil. I used the one I got out of my BoxyCharm. It's Scone, and this is a neutral color, and it worked out pretty good, I think. And then for my lips, I used a Bubble lip liner, and I thought it would go well with this particular lipstick that, yes, I got from Catkin. Packaging is beautiful, as you can tell. So look at this lipstick. It has a shine to it. It's so pretty. It's just beautiful. And the color, it has a magnetic closure, by the way, and the color is C14 Unicorn, and it's a glitter lip balm. And so I put this on. I'm going to freshen it up for you. So that was my lippy that they sent me, and it's very creamy. And then for my gloss, I used my Buxom oil. And guys, this is the White Russian, and I just love it. I'm running out, which means I'll be on the lookout for it. I hope they still have it. I got this out of BoxyCharm, so I'm a little bit concerned. It could be a product that they're discontinuing. But I love that. And as you can tell, I kept my color from the Unicorn, and that ended up being my look. So what do you think? Get all my hair out of the way. As you can tell, I got all those colors blended in. And like I said, the mascara is not like, you know how I've been using my PrimeLash. It thickens and releases my eyelashes up, and Cosnori gives you a look, but it's not as strong as the other mascaras that I've used. And anyways, I think it still did a good look. And so hey guys, let me know, what do you think? I like it. It did a beautiful neutral look, and you know, a little bit shadowed out for like a little bit of a sultry look as well. So you can get a lot of looks out of that, even though your colors are basically nude. So guys, that's all I have, and I appreciate you watching. And now on to the next look. Okay, we're on to the next look. And guys, this is a Charlotte Tilbury look. Everything I have on, other than my foundation that I use with Estee Lauder Double Wear, is Charlotte Tilbury. So I'm going to go over what I've used, because I did use this last week, but I didn't do a video on this particular look. So I thought I would redo it. I tried to recreate it with the Catkin, and I did get that published, and it looks similar, but it's not the same. So I redid it, all Charlotte Tilbury, and I want to show you, this is how it came out, which I thought it turned out very pretty. So, and I like it. It's a nice soft look. Wore this to church today, and what it is, it's her palette. What it is I don't have my palette. I'll be back. This is the older one that I had, and I really like it. It's just plain and simple luxury palette, and it is the Golden Goddess is the name of it, and then it's just 4 simple colors, and I've got all them on my face. I've got the light color all over for a base. I've got that brown next to it over here in the crease and on the lid. I have this in the corners, and I have this also in the crease. I've actually just kind of blended them all in. So that's the look I got. I used the Golden Goddess by Charlotte Tilbury. As you can tell, very pretty muted colors. It goes on really good, and it's so hot in Texas today, guys. I feel like I'm melting, and I have the AC on. It's just hot, it's humid. So we're back to that again. In addition to that, I'm gonna just try to carry out things. I did use the BB Brow. This is the Universal Brow Pencil that I used on my eyebrows, which I use all the time. You can see it's not really brown. So, and they call it Universal, so anybody can use it. For my blush, I use my new Charlotte Tilbury in pink. And it's Hollywood pink is what it says. I just don't want to blind you guys. And it has a mirror. So I use that pink blush and I use that pink highlighter over it. So I have both of those on. And that works out very nice. You don't need a whole lot of the blush. It goes a long way. And then I use my Charlotte Tilbury bronzer palette to do some contouring. I went under my blush, under my chin, up here above, to add a little color, and it's not as dark as it looks. I might just put on a little bit for you guys to see. It looks dark there, but it doesn't come off that dark. You know, you can blend it out where it's just a nice color, and it kind of blends in with my skin on this other side here. But anyway, that's the look of that. And of course, I don't dig into it like I just did. So that would make a difference, wouldn't it? Okay. And then on back to my eyes, I did use the Estee Lauder cream in my waterline and just to the insides and a little over on both sides, like here, and then up and up. I used the brown Charlotte Tilbury eyeliner, which I really like her eyeliner. It's very good. It lines up real well. It's easy to apply. And then for my mascara, I use the Charlotte Tilbury mascara, and I got this. It's called the Full Fat Lashes. And this was in that last packet. Remember, I got the mystery box. It had that blush that I showed you. It had this mascara. And it also had a lippy that I'm going to show you here in just a minute. It had some magic water cream, but I haven't used that yet. But anyway, I used that mascara. And then for my lips, I used the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk. And this is in Pillow Talk. That is the color. So I have this on for my liner. Just go over it just a little bit. Again, because I have had lunch. After church, we went to go eat out at this little restaurant. I had smothered chicken. It was so good with like cheese, Swiss cheese and cheddar cheese, onions, and I think, what was it, onions, bell peppers, and mushrooms. Very, very tasty with some grilled vegetables and fried okra. Okay, now you know my whole menu. That's what I had. Okay, it was delicious. Anyway, I used that liner. And then I got a sample lipstick in with this. It was like free, I think, with a certain amount of purchase. And this here is in Pillow Talk. So this is her famous color, Pillow Talk, in Pillow Talk. And that's what it looks like. It's a small size, but it's plenty big. And it matches Pillow Talk perfectly. And then on top of that, I had gotten this in my mystery packet, and it is the Enchanting Kiss, which is, I think, a pinkish color, and it's a lip balm. So I put that on top. So it gave it a little bit more of a pink look. And then I got this in one of my packages, my lip package, I believe, the Big Plumpgasm. And this is her plumping serum or plumping gloss, and it's very good. And it probably stings just a little bit, but not too bad. It more feels refreshing. Now after that, I sprayed on my Charlotte Tilbury Boo-Hoo-Hoo. I'm gonna have to buy some more. It's my favorite setting spray. But anyway, I'm gonna spritz some more on. It sets it all day. And you get that nice little glow. Well, speaking of glow, I got out my Hollywood Glow. And this is the highlighter in Champagne Glow from Charlotte Tilbury. Everything's so shiny with her. And this is what it looks like. And of course, with that new technique, I put some of this on top. And I also put some up here. I'm just re-showing y'all. I get my little fan highlighter and just put a little bit on. Gives me a beautiful glow. So this is how I get my glow look from Charlotte Tilbury. And that's everything I have on my face. So I use everything Charlotte. Remember, but that's my look. You let me know what you think about this look today with the Charlotte Tilbury. And I love it. But now that's all I have for this look, so on to the next one. Okay, we're on to the next look, and guess what? I took that Charlotte Tilbury palette that came in my mystery boxes, and I decided to go ahead and make a look with it because I found it. Yeah, I guess it wasn't lost just too bad. But anyways, I do have that palette, Charlotte Tilbury, on my eyes today. And I did bring my eyeliner up of hers up, and I filled it in like I do sometimes with my little bitty brush to give me that pointed cat eye look. And this is the palette. It is called the Bella Sophia. And so I used the light color all over. I used, of course, the dark brown here in my corners, and I put this rusty color in my crease. And then I also put some of that goldy brown in there, and I put the goldy brown halfway over, and then dusted it again with the light color. So that is my look as far as the shadows go. What do you think compared to yesterday? Well, compared to the last look with Charlotte Tilbury. Okay, what else did I do? Well, I want to tell you a little bit, because I do have quite a bit of Charlotte Tilbury in my little arsenal, I guess. I used her Magic Hydrating Mist. It's Radiant Skin Rescue Essence. It's wonderful. I actually like this. I still have quite a bit of this left, but it gives you radiant hydration, oxygenated skin, energizes it, smooths, and it's pollution defense. So I always spray a little bit of that on. I usually do it after I do my moisturizer, or before. No, I do it before my moisturizer. And today I used her new Charlotte Magic Water Cream. Now this is very good. It tells you what it's going to do in English. Has it in French too, but we have it in English. It trains the skin barrier to retain more moisture, intensely hydrates, water break texture, refines the look of pores, and oil control, and a healthy radiant. And I would have to say that's all true. And of course I've got 2 jars of this because I bought both the mystery boxes, if you'll recall. I'll try to drop that video somewhere along here, but this is what it looks like. It really doesn't have a scent to it. Her regular magic cream has a scent to it, but this really doesn't. And so I can use this one. It doesn't have the same ingredients. I can't use the regular magic cream. It breaks out my skin. But this here is the consistency of the moisturizer, and she calls it water cream, magic water cream. So I have that on my face. And then I don't have one of her primers, something to work on, I guess, but I did have the YSL Touche Blur Primer. But this is a real, like, I want to say like silicone base is what it reminds me of. And it's got a little shine to it. It helps keep moisture on your skin and blur your pores. And of course, with that silicone in there, if that's what it is, it's going to help the moisture barrier of your skin. So that feels really good. So I have that on besides my eyeshadow and all that. And of course I use Estee Lauder foundation. I always do that usually, unless I tell y'all differently. And I use the concealer with them, and I use the Skin Food for my powder on top of my all over face, which I didn't bring in here. But anyways, on my eyes with that, I did use her brown Charlotte Tilbury eyeliner. So I have that mostly underneath, halfway on top, and out and up. Then I also used my cream Estee Lauder, which is in the inner corners and my waterline, so I brought that through. And then I used the Charlotte Tilbury full fat lashes on my lashes. But I do want to tell you this time, because of the nutrition, I put on the PrimeLash as a base, and this was in mauve. And this here has nutrients in it for older, mature lashes like my own, I think for anybody's lashes. So I put that on as a base so that my lashes would have the nutrition on there and the benefit of that. And then I put on the Charlotte Tilbury. So that is the basic black that you see. And yes, the serum's been working great with PrimeLash serum. And I do have a 15% discount with Miss Jackie Russell if any of y'all are interested. But let's move on. What else did I do? Well, I used the other blush that I have from her. And this is the peachy one. And it's called Hollywood Blush and Glow Glide Palette. And I think that's just a peachy color. Does it even tell us what color it is? I don't know. I think it says tan. I do want to say one thing. This is a strong peachy color. I mean, like, when you put this on, look at that. You're putting on some peach now. This is strong. So I have to kind of dab it on, and even then I get a strong peachy look with this. And then I went ahead, because it's so strong, I went ahead and used the highlighter right on top of that to kind of tone it down a little bit, and I brushed it in real well. But as you can tell, it turned out pretty. And then I did use her Charlotte Tilbury bronzer palette, and I use this for my contour palette, and it's dark, but it doesn't come off that dark. And I'll just glide my finger across there and put that beside here. And it may look dark, but it's not once you blend it in. So, and you can see, you can blend that out. And I probably blend that with both of them so they're not quite that dark. But those are the colors, but as you can tell, they look fine on my face. Or at least I do. If I'm imagining things, let me know. But then after I got all that on, I did my lips. I went and got my other Pillow Talk. And this color is Lip Cheat. And so I have this on, and then with Lip Cheat, I had got at one time the Catwalking color lipstick and Pillow Talk, and that's what's on after that as a base. And then I got my Petal color. This is the Happy Petal Balm, and I put that on top. Very good balm. And I went and got her very cute little plumper. I've not had her plumper before, but this is the Pillow Talk Big Lip Plumpgasm, and I really like it. It has a great doe foot. And then I sprayed with my airbrush mist, and then I topped it with my Pillow Talk. This is Pillow Talk. And that is the color of this Pillow Talk Glow. And that ended up being my look. So what do you think? That's it. And then again, those were the colors. The Bella Sophia palette. Very, very pretty. And it made a very beautiful look. So you let me know what you think. And now we're going on to the next look. Okay, we're on to the next look. And this one I used my BoxyCharm, some of my items in there. I did the Pat McGrath's palette, and you know, I don't even remember what that palette's actually called. You know, like, I'm sure it's got a name, and I don't even know if it's on the back side of this thing. It's so bright, there's no way for me to really read this because it just reflects back and forth. But anyway, it's the Pat McGrath Labs. It's very heavy, it's very beautiful, and I used the pinks, all kinds of pinks here. I started off with this light color right here all over as a base, so it's also my highlighter. I then went over and used this glittery color here, and then let's see, the purplish one down below, which is right here. So I used those two, and then I went in with the pink over here, and I used that pink, and then I used this darker color right here as my, like, in the crease. So that is what I ended up with. As you can see, it's very pretty, it's shiny, because I went over it with the shiny, I guess you could say, and I did, whoops, I just dug into that by accident on this side. So yeah, I made a boo-boo in my palette. Try to mash it back down. That was my light color. But this is the palette, and I love it. And I didn't have to use much. It's very pigmented, and it should be for a palette that sells for $125, which I did not pay that much, or $128. I paid I paid $25. So, okay, that was my shadow. My liner that I used is this rose color that I got from Bisha. Now, I also had the brown one that I got in my BoxyCharm from the Bisha, and I had it on first, but then I kind of took it off because it just seemed too dark. And I'll show you what I mean. See, it's a lot darker. So that's the brown, and then I had the rose on. So you can see that color. And I do want to tell you guys, I used the Pore Diffusing Primer, and I've used it twice now, and I don't care for it, okay? In some cases, I don't know, it makes my skin feel drier, and my skin's not dry. But it's just not working for me, so you'll see this in a giveaway at some point. It was a nice, you know, primer that they sent, but it's just, I don't like it. So I'll be passing this on. I wanted to tell y'all that because you asked me. And I just feel like, you know, to the touch and everything, that my skin feels dry. Even when I spray moisturizer on it, you know, like some spritz, it dries. And I don't like the way it feels, so I'm not going to keep this. So anyways, thought I'd tell you that. And then the other thing that I use that I'm probably not going to keep, and that is both the items that BoxyCharm picked for me, is the Bare Minerals Original Liquid Mineral Concealer. I don't know, y'all probably can't tell. I probably can't get up close enough, but when I look at it in bright light, and I really can't tell right here, and I don't think y'all can either, but I see like the cakiness of lines, and I never see that with Estee Lauder's primer. And I do the exact same thing. I put on my primer, and then I put on you know, like I dust it with a setting powder so that it's not supposed to do that. And I noticed that yesterday, and so I thought, okay, I'm going to use this same product again. I did use I used Lancome on my face today for my moisturizer. Yesterday I had tried that Peter Thomas Roth, and it for sure didn't mix good with this. This here and that, they wanted to like peel off, and I didn't like that either. So I don't know which product caused that problem, but I do know the dryness that I feel today I had yesterday, so it has to be this because I didn't use Peter Thomas Roth. So we'll see, and then I'll test it out a little bit more, but I'm not sure about the Bare Minerals for me. And it just may not be a formula that's good for me. And it may be that it's not good for women my age. You know, it may be better for a younger crowd. So anyways, that's my report on those two products. I know it's not what you wanted to hear from me, but I'm just telling you, for me and my age at 65, it's just not working out. Okay, and it could be my age. So I wanted to make sure you knew that. All right, now back to my eyes. I used Oaklyn Purple Eyeliner, and I like this eyeliner. It goes on good, and it's got a little bit of a glitter to it. I don't know if it'll show that on there, but it's a pretty purple. It's a very pretty liner. So I got that liner on, and then I have on the PrimeLash, and this is in the mulberry, which I really like. It does a really good job. I'm going to see if I can extend them some more. This has nutrients in it, and it also extends your lashes, and I think it does a good job. And I think this mulberry looks great with pink looks. So it's very, very pretty, very becoming. And so I use that. And then for my blush, I use the Kevin Ocean, or Ocean, don't know. Anyway, it's kind of an ombre type blush, but that's the blush that I have on today. And then I use my Bronze Goddess and the Matte and Glow Bronzing Palette, which is mostly gone. So I mostly use this color over here mixed with a little bit of the light that's left. Oh, I did use my Lancome White for my waterline under my eyes here, and then to the insides of my eyes. And after I spritzed on Estee Lauder setting spray, and I forgot to bring that in here, I used my Mario highlighter, and I'm really liking that highlighter. I don't know, this is probably becoming one of my favorite highlighters. It's easy to apply, and it doesn't overdo. And then, like I said, on my lips, I used that brown. And then I got out my Fenty Balm, and it is, I don't know, is that Go Gang? Is that what they're calling it? I don't know. Anyways, that's the color. I like it. And it will go with that brown, but the brown's just a little bit darker. And then I use my Buxom lip oil. I love this. It's getting empty. It looks full on that side, empty on this side. It's getting empty. I'm going to have to look into it. I'm liking their oils better than the other. This tastes a little bit pepperminty, strawberry-like. I don't know. It's got a good flavor. And I like the way it feels on my lips. So I guess that's everything that I use this time around. So just a simple look, and I got a blemish right there. Wow. I don't usually get those, but it came up overnight, and now it's already healing, so it'll go away soon. So I guess you can still get those at this age. But this is a gorgeous, gorgeous palette. And like I said, I did not have to use much of the product at all. And it went on really good, and you can see where I made the boo-boo on the light color there. My fingernail got in it. But it's pretty. It's a purty one. Alright guys, that's my look for today, and we'll be going on to the next one. Let me know if you've used the shades of Shan and if you like it and how it works for you. But for me, I just don't think it's the right primer for me. And so it doesn't mean it's a bad primer, just means it's not working for me. And I'll keep kind of trying out the Bare Minerals as far as the, see how I, you can't tell with just looking in this, photo, I don't think, or in this video of my eyes. I can't see any of that. So maybe I was just up too close and it wasn't a window light. Different lighting. But anyways, that's all for this look. Let me know how you like it. And now on to the next one. Okay, we're on to the next look. And today I have used my Estee Lauder moisturizer and hyaluronic acid and things like that. And for my primer, I'm using the Glow Recipe. And I'm almost out of this. This is the Strawberry BHA Pore Smooth Blur Drops. And this feels good. Now, this particular primer doesn't make my face feel dry. And so I like this one, even though it's a blur primer and it's got the BHA in there. I like it. So I know Fabfitfun has it on sale for $15 right now, and I might grab it if it's still available. But anyway, Glow Recipe, this is a very good primer, I think. All right. Now, the next thing that I did after I put my primer on, I put on my Estee Lauder makeup. And then I went to the Desnudas Exotica Alamar Cosmetic Palette. And this is what this looks like. It's very pretty. It's kind of similar in some of the colors as the Pat McGrath that you just seen. And this was the look that I got out of this palette. Now, I think this is very pretty look too. And it has a little bit darker brown over here than the Pat McGrath had. And this pink here is about the same color as Pat McGrath. Now, I put this color here, the white or the cream color, all over as a base. And then I've got this on my lid, as you can tell, and then I have some of this brown in my crease, and I also have the dark brown in the corners of both eyes. You can't see with that in the way. And then I did use a little bit of this as highlighter up here. I put this on my lid and this one on my lid. So I used those two to give it a little sparkle. So I don't know, I thought it was a pretty look. And I mean, this is a $28 palette and Pat McGrath is a $128 palette. And to me, I got about the same look out of this palette as I did with the Pat McGrath. Very pretty. I like it. I like the pinks and the browns together. Those are really nice. So that was my eyeshadow. My eyeliner was an Estee Lauder Coffee. So I use this as my liner. It's underneath my eyes and halfway here and over the other way into the corners, and a little bit of a lift with the wing in each corner I did today. And then I have the Estee Lauder cream on my waterline, and then to the insides of both eyes, and on the upper part I've gone in and over. Yeah, it's opposite when I'm looking in the computer, but you kind of got the idea. Okay, for my mascara, I used my PrimeLash Volumizer, and this is a volumizing shampoo. A volumizing mascara, and it works really good. It's got nutrients in it, and I really like it. And you can save 15% with MISSJACKIE Russell 15. So it's a very nice mascara. It's buildable too, as you can tell. And on top of that, I did come back and use the Swede. This is the Pro Lash Lift, because you can also lift with this little bitty comb brush. and it works well too. And I don't know if it's going to lift them anymore. It might stick them more together than lift them. But I mean, I feel like I get a great lift using that over any of my mascaras. You could probably use this by itself, but I usually use it as a lift. Okay, now I did use for my concealer, I forgot to mention that, I did use my Estee Lauder Double Wear, and it's a Flawless Wear concealer. I just like this one better than the Bare Minerals, but the Bare Minerals did keep my makeup in place, and that's one of the reasons I use a concealer, because, you know, technically you can go to sleep overnight, and if you got a good concealer, your shadows and everything will stay on your face or on your eyes better. And even during the day, they'll perform better without getting all that creasy eyeshadow. Have you ever had that happen? Well, if you do, try using a good concealer. I always prime it. I prime my eyes. Yeah, I put that all over, including my eyes. Then I put on my concealer. So you might want to try that little tip. Like I said, it helps keep your makeup fresh looking all day too. Now, my blush, I got out my By Terry, that beautiful little rose palette, and this does smell like rose. I was putting it on one day, and I thought, I smell roses, and that's exactly what it is. I used all colors. I used the light pink first, then I went under with the darker pink, and then I went with the bronzer underneath to frame, and then underneath my chin and down my neck, and then I used the highlighter. So that's a very gorgeous palette. Love that as well. And then for my lips, I use my Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk, and I like this color. I'm going to freshen it up. I went to church today, so you know, some of this might not be as fresh as it was when I got there. And anyways, I use this lipstick from Lancome, and it is, I don't know what color it is. That's the number. So I'm not sure what color, but it's like a rosy color. I would say like a pink rosy color. Kind of neutral, but with a little bit of rose in there. And it's very moisturizing. And then I use my Buxom, and this is the Dolly. Yeah, I got Dolly out for this. And that was my look. So what do you think? You like it? I think it turned out nice. So it's a very pretty look using the Des Nudas Exotica Alamar Cosmetic Palette. And again, it's very pretty. Love the color, so I'll be using that again sometime. But that's my look. You let me know how you feel about it, and let me know how you would compare this to the Pat McGrath that you just saw. Okay, so we had Pat McGrath before this. Now we have the Denudis palette, the Exotica. So let me know. And now on to the next look. Hello everybody, and welcome to the last look for September. Yeah, I'm going to end it on this one, and it'll give me time to work on it and get it ready for you before the end of the month. But I decided to go with the Tarte palette that I just received, the Tartlet that was in that little group, and this is the Hot Cocoa is what I decided to use. Now, I know many of you commented that you liked the Hot Cocoa. So this is what it looks like, and this is the look that I pulled out of it, and I really like it. It's very pretty. Of course, I use that light color over here as my base, and then I put on some of this on my lid as well as some of that, and I use the dark brown right in the corners, and I use this in my crease. And then I did add a little bit of this sand, the darker sand, mixed into my eyelids and probably even into my crease. And that is my look with the Tartlet palette. So Hot Cocoa. So that's what it is, and that's the colors. Very pretty. So before I put all that on, I do want to mention that I use Glow Recipe. I've gone back to this, and I just recently purchased this from Fabfitfun. They had it on sale for $14 or $15, and it is a serum, but it is a BHA Pore Smooth Blur Drops, and I use this for a primer. So whether or not it's supposed to be that way, that's what I do, and I like it, and I wanted to tell y'all about it. Now, for my eyeliner, I used the Noor, and I turned around and used my cream in my waterline, and then of course on each side about halfway up. So that is my liner, which is Estee Lauder, my favorite. And then I use my favorite BBB, and this is my eyebrow color pencil that I use, and it's my favorite as well. So I got those two things on. I did use a Daryl, I don't know how you pronounce that. This is a concealer that I got from Temu, and it actually works pretty good. And it's a light color. I use a light color sometimes just to brighten up my eyes to get started, in case you ever wanted to know. And then for my mascara, I use first the Man-Eater mascara. I put that on first, and I didn't use any PrimeLash or anything this time. I just used the Tarte Man-Eater. So, and it works really well. And then I also topped it with the Tartelette, and this is the tubing mascara. So I put that on top, and it tubed it real good, I think. And we might be able to get it to do a little more since it's already dried. Just kind of lift them up. I like to do that sometimes, just lift them. Almost looks like I have on false eyelashes. Sometimes I get a little bit too much tubing going on, I think. But anyway, that's what I have on my eyes. So at least you know what it is. And then on my blush, I use my Bubble Bands with Fenty Beauty, and I really like this color. It is so pretty, and it is kind of like a bubblegum pink. It's bright, and I think it's really nice. And I use my Estee Lauder. This is a palette that also has a blush, but I didn't use the blush. I used the darker shade over here for a, I guess you could say, bronzing effect, and for contouring through here and under here and up above. Now I do that all the time, and I will say I did try to do my eyeliner up, so that up, when you go up and you're older like me and you go up, it lifts your eyes. And if you have hooded eyes and you use the darker colors on the inside coming in, then, and the lighter in the right here, you know, in the beginning on the lid, it actually helps pull your eyes up. So it's almost like an eye lift. So, because I do have a little bit of hooded eyes, just in case, you know, you might want to know that. Now, I did use the Tartelette. I actually used one that I got from Allure that's more the pinky color, and that's this color on my lips. And I've topped it off with this lip plumper, which is this color. And so I'll add a little more of that on. They probably can use some plumping about right now. And as far as my liner that I used a Natasha Denona liner. So, and this is in her rose, I believe. I don't know if it says it on there, but it's like a rosy color. So it's very good. I like that. And then I sprayed my face with Estee Lauder. This is their setting spray, Set and Refresh Perfecting Makeup Mist, and I put that all over. And then I put on my Mario, which I'm really liking this. I got this out of BoxyCharm. I really like it. Didn't ever used to use highlighters, but it gives such a glow. And that tip that they gave, where you put the mist on first and then put on your highlighter, I think really makes a big difference. So that is my finished look. and that was with Tarte, and I like it. What do you think? I think it turned out very pretty. So you let me know your thoughts on all the looks. I know I've had a lot. This is a long video, and I'm going to try to cut it down, but I try to keep y'all up to date on what I'm doing and what I'm using, so that, you know, if you want to recreate a look, you can at least have an idea what I've done. And again, this was the Hot Cocoa palette from Tarte, and I really liked it. So to me, this was a win-win. You let me know what you think and how you think the mascara performed. I think it's done really, really good. So anyways, that's all my looks for September. I hope you have enjoyed them. Please let me know. Don't forget to put the blue heart emoji for September and the red rose, and beware and know that the emojis will change for October, okay? So if you're part of my Jubilee gifting, keep that in mind. But in September, it is a blue heart on all my videos and are a rose. So that'll get you in. Be sure and check the collaborations I have out with Carol Gardner and with Mary Catherine Loves Cats Temu Holiday Collab. That'll end October 4th. And that's about all I have for this video and for all these purty looks, as they say. And as usual, I wish you all a blessed and happy day. Bye-bye.